Hey, what's going on, Guardians? My name is the Black Link. Now, Forsaken has been out for almost a week now. We've had plenty of time to play through the game, plenty of time to get through the story, get to the end game, and experience a lot that this expansion has to offer. There's still plenty more to go through, but I think we've all got a pretty good grasp on how we feel. And to be perfectly honest, I am happy to levy praise where praise is due, and it is absolutely due when it comes to Forsaken. It is a fantastic expansion. It is bringing back the feeling, that hobby enthusiast feeling I used to have back in Destiny 1, where I just wanted to log on every single day, play and do something different. I'm absolutely feeling that with Forsaken, and I don't think it's a stretch to say at all that this right now is where Destiny 2 should have launched a year ago. If Destiny 2 had come out a year ago with all the stuff that it has right now, I don't really think it would have had any of the critical troubles that it did when the game first came out. It is an entirely new experience. If you're somebody who hasn't played D2 for a while, especially if you were disappointed by year one, definitely check this out now. You don't even have to buy Forsaken, just play in the 2.0 environment. If you enjoy that, maybe then you can move on with the DLC purchase from there. There is a lot to love in this DLC. And really, throughout playing Forsaken, there's only one real big complaint that I have, and that complaint is concerning the Infusion economy. Ooh man, now this is something, if you Guardians have been watching our live streams, you know I have ranted about for quite some time. It's a video that I really wanted to make since last week, but I wanted to give the game a little bit more time, see if anything changed the further you get into endgame. So now I've had a little bit more time with the game, and I feel like I'm just going to make a video, roll out my thoughts, and talk a bit about Infusion, specifically the addition of Masterwork Cores to the Infusion system within Destiny 2. Now, as you can probably guess, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I think the addition of Masterwork Cores as an Infusion requirement is a wholly unwelcome decision by Bungie that is kind of questionable. I don't think anybody was really asking for this. There are several problems with this system that become really apparent the longer you play Destiny 2 Forsaken. And while it's not the largest issue in the world, it is certainly a very frustrating one. So let's break this down. For those who don't know, the Infusion system has seen a couple of changes within Forsaken. It now requires planetary materials and Masterwork Cores in order to infuse items. So those legendaries that you've got, if you want to infuse them up, it's going to require a few new things. Now the planetary materials aren't that bad. Those have basically replaced planetary tokens for vendors. So if you're playing on world spaces and you're just getting like public events and patrol missions and stuff like that done, you should have plenty of planetary materials before too long. It does take a bit of a grind to pick those things up, but overall you actually have present sources for those, so it doesn't take too long to farm those up. But Masterwork Cores are a little bit different. Your sources for Masterwork Cores are very limited. You can buy a few per day from the spider over on the Tangled Shore. And the reason I say a few per day is because the price for Masterwork Cores, which requires legendary shards, starting with 10 legendary shards per one core, it increases exponentially every time you buy one until it becomes extremely cost prohibitive for you to continue doing so. Before you know it, it's costing 180 legendary shards for you to pick anything up, and that's just really not tenable for a lot of players out there. And a part of me thinks that might have been the point from Bungie there. Of course, the spider's costs do reset every single day. But still, that means at most the average player is going to be able to buy like maybe 1 to 2 of these Masterwork Cores a day, which severely limits the amount of infusing that they can do. You mix that in with the fact that Masterworked items aren't dropping nearly as much as they used to, and you've got yourself a bit of a problem. Masterwork Cores in and of themselves are very rare now. You don't see as many drops from engrams that are masterworked. I actually haven't really seen any masterworked legendary items drop from engrams since Forsaken came out, and we know that Bungie specifically lowered the drop rate of masterworks from the old raids, so you can't just go like run Eater of Worlds and get a like 50% chance at getting masterworked items that you can break down for these Masterwork Cores. So your farming for Masterwork Cores, your sources for those things, is extremely limited, and you need a lot of them to infuse items. I think weapons and armor that are legendary take 2 Masterwork Cores, exotics take 3, so you can burn through your supply of Masterwork Cores very quickly, and the sources that you get them from really aren't nearly prevalent enough. This is really questionable to me because it's something that nobody really asked for and nobody really needed. I thought the infusion system before was fine. And again, even with the changes to planetary mats, I think that's a fine system. That works. Those are things that you can actually grind for between legendary shards and planetary materials. But Masterwork Cores, the addition of Masterwork Cores, which were previously only used to masterwork a weapon, it's in the gosh darn name. I don't know why that was added to the infusion system, and I really don't think it needs to be there. You burn through these really quickly, and without there being a clear-cut way to effectively farm these things every single day, it creates a really cost-prohibitive system that just doesn't allow you to infuse the weapons and armor that you want, which can be a major bummer, especially once you get into the endgame of the Dreaming City. This scenario basically becomes present the moment you start Forsaken. If you're a player who's been playing all throughout year 1 of Destiny 2, you no doubt have a bunch of gear on that you wanted to infuse as soon as the DLC started with some of those new 400 plus blues you were getting in that very first Prison of Elders story mission. And hopefully you didn't take the bait and start infusing things then and there, because the system is extremely costly. And indeed, I think that might have been part of the point by Bungie. I do believe one of the reasons for why they added Masterworks to the infusion formula was specifically to get people off of old gear. You know, when you're going through the story, and for a quick tip, don't infuse anything. Just keep equipping the new, more powerful blues that you're getting until you get to 500. Then you can start doing your powerful engram stuff and getting legendary gear, and then you can start infusing your stuff after that. Definitely wait until you're at the end of the story and all that before you start infusing gear, or else by the time you get to the Dreaming City, you're just not going to have any resources left, and you're going to find yourself completely screwed like a lot of players are right now. But again, I think that was part of the point. I think Bungie was trying to get people to try out new gear, some of the new weapons and the new armor, rather than just taking the stuff they've been using from year 1 and infuse it right up to the year 2 levels and keep using the same things. My argument against that is, well, just make new interesting weapons and armor. People will pick and choose those new things over the old things just because it's new. You don't really need to put in a system to force people to do that, especially when this system involves an item that really should only be kept for its original purpose. Again, masterworking items. That's the only thing I feel like Masterwork Cores should really have a part of. And I say that as a year 1 player. If you're somebody who played all through year 1 of Destiny 2, you played through Vanilla, through Curse of Osiris, through Warmind, you probably have a healthy stack, or at least did have a healthy stack of Masterwork Cores and legendary shards going into Forsaken. I know I certainly did when the DLC started, and I'm down to basically my last 5 to 6 Masterwork Cores right now, feverishly holding them close and making sure I don't use them for anything at all, and I'm in the 520s when it comes to power level. So this new system, of course, is a headache for me in terms of resources. The planetary mats are fine, but with Masterwork Cores, I can't even imagine what this must be like for new players of the game, which is that's a huge cost wall in front of people who didn't spend all that time playing year 1, getting easy masterworks from basically everything in the game. For those players who are new to Destiny 2, who are maybe just now getting to the Dreaming City, maybe getting into the 500s to 510s and saying, hey, I've got this awesome cool bow that I was given in the story, I love the perks on it, I love the way it feels, why can't I infuse it up? I just don't have the resources for it, and the only thing I can do every day is buy maybe 1 to 2 Masterwork Cores from the Spider. Why can't I get more of these things? You gotta remember, even with the Spider there, with a new player who doesn't have a ton of legendary shards, who doesn't have a ton of Masterwork Cores, that means they're gonna get maybe, at best, 1 to 2 infusions per day. And for a game that's all about getting loot and customizing and using your favorite gear, that definitely doesn't feel too good, especially for newer players out there who are screwed on this type of economy and has so much grinding ahead of them before they can even just infuse and use the weapons they like the most in PvE. It's definitely a big flaw with the current system, and my only really large complaint when it comes to Destiny 2 Forsaken right now. Granted, it's only fair to say that if you're infusing 2 weapons of the same type and name, like say 2 Better Devils, the infusion will only cost you Glimmer. So there are situations like that within the game, but of course that doesn't apply to the grand majority of things you're going to be infusing. Now, there are levels for compromise here. I wouldn't have a problem with this system if maybe exotics required Masterwork Cores, but I really don't think legendary weapons and armor should require Masterwork Cores at all when it moves to the infusion system. I just don't really think that has a place there. It's an unnecessary addition to the system. And I know people are saying, well, you asked for a grind, TBL, they're giving you a grind. Well, we asked for meaningful grinds. I think the power level grind is meaningful. The chase for challenges and powerful engrams is meaningful. Prime engram grinding is meaningful. Gambit grinding is meaningful. Quick play, infamy, valor, glory, those grinds are meaningful. Grinding so that you can buy maybe 2 Masterwork Cores a day isn't very meaningful, and it's kind of just an unnecessary barrier that's been added to the Infusion system. There are also certainly other compromises that could be made. I think it'd be fine if maybe infusing weapons of the same type didn't require Masterwork Core. So if like you've got the Ace of Spades and you just got a 525 Duke MK44, you could just say, okay, well, I'm going to infuse this hand cannon into my Ace of Spades. It doesn't cost any Masterwork Cores. But if I want to infuse like a bow into the Ace of Spades, maybe it costs 1 Masterwork Core. I would even be fine with that system, but with the way things are right now, it's certainly way too cost prohibitive for a lot of players. And it's something I really hope to see changed in a future update. Who knows, maybe even with the hotfix going live this week, maybe they'll do something about that. In the grand scheme of things, as far as problems go at Forsaken, that's a pretty small issue, and the fact that that's the only big thing I have to complain about after a full week of Forsaken grinding, well, outside of glitches like my powerful engrams not giving me powerful gear, little stuff like that, I think Forsaken's in a pretty good spot. And if Bungie can figure out some sort of compromise here, if they can iron out this whole Masterwork Core issue when it comes to Infusion, I think we're in good shape for the months going forward. But alright, Guardians, those are my thoughts. This has rambled on for long enough. We're at like the 13-14 minute mark. I'm going to have to cut this down just a little bit. But those are my thoughts. Be sure to leave me yours. How do you feel about the Masterwork addition to the Infusion system? Do you think it adds to the meaningful grind of Destiny 2? Or do you think it was an unnecessary addition that should probably be readdressed? Be sure to let me know down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to drop a like, make sure you subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all the latest stuff we're putting out. But alright, I'm out for now. Thank you, Guardians, so much for watching. And as always, I am the Black Link. You Guardians, stay frosty.